The NBA has officially announced the green room, the players that will be in the room when the NBA draft is going on. On today's episode, we're going to take a look at the players that are in that green room and try to figure out which players the Bulls probably drafting. Plus, it is Saturday. That means it is Mailbag Day. We're also going to get into the voicemails. All that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. I want to start off talking about, I know I said that we were going to look at the mock drafts and where they had the Chicago Bulls going. This is going to be a little bit mix of that and some other things going on as well. But with the NBA officially announcing the green room, that's going to be the players that are in the room when the draft's going on, that are going to be there physically at the NBA draft. It does kind of show what the NBA is feeling like is going to happen here. As far as what players are going to go where. Now, this isn't always exact, right? There are some times where players are not in the green room that do end up, being drafted earlier than people expected. It's always some room for that, always a possibility of that happening. So I want to be clear in that. But I also want to look at the Bulls and the players that they've brought in for official workouts. Like somewhere between all of that, I do feel like we can figure out or have an idea of where the Bulls may be going in this draft. And I'm not going to say we can figure it out exactly because, again, this is the Chicago Bulls. Things get a little bit crazy around here, when it comes down to that. But okay, let's go ahead and just take a look. So the Bulls, we already know that they've worked out Drake Powell, they've worked out Danny Wolf, they've worked out Igor Dimon, who's a new addition to the in-person workouts that they've had, Carter Bryant as well. And Danny Wolf. So Drake Powell, Asa Newell, Igor Dimon, Carter Bryant, Danny Wolf. Those are the 5 players that are slated to go in the first round, or projected by most places to go in the first round, that the Bulls have brought in for workouts. Other than that, it's a lot of other picks around that area, right? And so when you look at all of this and pair that with, where the Bulls, like Derek Queen's a player that's been mocked to go to the Bulls a lot. Colin Murray Boyles is a player that some players have mocked going to the Bulls. Asa Newell is a guy that some mocks have going to the Chicago Bulls. So it's really all over the place, right? And, we heard that yesterday that a lot of teams feel like that they are, a lot of players feel like they can go to the Chicago Bulls. Shout out to Tyler from No Ceilings, who actually brought that up, who said, a lot of players feel like the Bulls are going to be the one to draft him. Kaman Malawak is still the one that the Ringer has slated to go to the Chicago Bulls in their most recent mock draft. So which one of those players are going to be in the draft room? Kaman's definitely going to be in the draft room. Igor Dimon's going to be in that draft room. Asa Newell, Derek Queen are all going to be in that draft room. Thomas Sorber, one of the favorites as well, is going to be in that draft room. Also, Danny Wolf is as well. Cedric Coward. No Drake Powell in that, right? None. One of my boy Brian, one of his favorite prospects in the draft is Rasheer Fleming. No Rasheer Fleming in that draft room either. So this does shape up to kind of give you an idea. Again, this is who the NBA is expecting, because last thing the NBA wants, they don't want players to be sitting there in the draft room and not be drafted all the way till past the first 25 picks. But that's the thing that you have to look at here. Ultimately, I think that the Bulls are still holding a lot of flexibility in who they're gonna draft, right? Igor Dimon is a guard that they brought in, but everybody else has been forwards, basically. Asa Newell with the chance to play center, but a lot of people have him slated to be a power forward as well, with defense being kind of the biggest upside there, which he does have some shooting upside as well. Danny Wolf, a player that can play the 4 or the 5 as well. But other than that, it's been a lot of forwards in here, a lot of wings, but a 1 point guard in Igor Dimon that the Bulls have brought in. And so, the thing with the Bulls is that they have never been a team that has shied away from taking a player that they haven't worked out. They just have not. And that's been something that has always been something you kind of got to look for in that case, because they will do something that you completely don't expect. And then we'll be looking like, okay, well, this isn't what we expected to happen. And so, that's what it comes down to. You just never know exactly what's going to happen with the Bulls because of they have a lot of flexibility in what they do. They aren't afraid to draft a player that they have not worked out. They just aren't afraid to do that at all. So those things all play a part into that as well. And that's where things sit right now for the Chicago Bulls. I think when it comes to this, right, we're 4 days away from the NBA draft. We're going to be finding out sooner rather than later. All the rumors, all that type of stuff, it's fun to talk about. It's great, it's cool to talk about. But I think at some point we have to realize, like, there's a chance that nobody knows what the Bulls are doing. And I don't know if that's a good thing or I don't know if that's a bad thing. Like, if they're trying to throw players off or other teams off the scent of who they're going to draft, then great there, right? But if not, then there's a little bit of concern. Some players that are left off the green room thing is Jace Richardson. He's not in there. There's a player that earlier into this, he was mocked to go to the Chicago Bulls by a few mock drafts to start off this draft conversation period. Maxime Reynald is another player that some people thought could go towards the end of the first round. He very well could. They only bring in 20-something names in there, but he's a player that is not going to be in that green room either, right? And I think when it comes down to it, like, you're still looking at where the Bulls are going to go. There's a lot of talk in that is that we don't know if the Bulls are going to go big. We don't know if the Bulls are going to go guard. We don't know if the Bulls are going to go wing. We don't know what this team is going to do because there's so much up in air about how the Chicago Bulls team is deciding to do business that it just sits in a place where, all right, what are we doing? And are they looking for more immediate impact? Are they looking for high upside? Are they looking for, I know they said best available, but how are you viewing best available? Are you viewing best available by what you can get right now? Or are you viewing it by, all right, this is the best player that in 3 years we think that this would be the best player from the draft? Right? Cedric Coward's inclusion here, I do think, says a lot about just where his whole draft stock is gone. A player that was originally slated to go in the second round for basically the entirety of the NBA season, his stock has gone up exponentially since the season ended and after the draft combine because of his workout and all those type of things. So it's a lot right now up in the air. And I think that the NBA draft is going to be crazy. I think there's going to be a lot of things that people don't expect to happen in this NBA draft. I think they're going to be moves up and down and that when it comes down to it. So we'll see. When you look at names that feel like they're AK guys, of course, Carter Bryant feels like an AK guy. I just want to be clear there. He's probably not going to fall that down to 12. Some mocks have him going that low, but if he's there, I do expect the Bulls to take a look at him. Absolutely. I think that the Bulls are going to take a look at him. We've had some talk over the last couple of weeks in regards to the Bulls being one of the teams that could be interested in trading up for Ace Bailey if he makes it past a certain spot. Are they going to be willing to spend the capital to get that? Ace Bailey's upside is tremendous. I want to be clear there. And with all the talk about his personality, and there are some Bulls fans that said, I don't want him here because of the personality issues. I can't knock you on that one, but I tell you what, I think that he's a young kid at 18 years old that seems like he's getting some bad draft advice. And because of that, I don't know if we can necessarily say that it's personal things, but we shall see, right? But that's another guy that I wouldn't be mad at the Bulls. I think Ace Bailey's the guy that one of the guys, I won't say the only one, but one of the guys that you can draft and you don't have to change a lot about your team. You don't have to worry about trading Coby at that point. You don't have to worry about trading for Jonathan Kuminga at that point in time. I think that you add into him that he slates in to be the 3 next to Modest Buzelis as your 4, and he can play between Coby and Modest because he has that defensive switchability, and he's a pretty decent shot blocker as well. So I like that. But guys like Danny Wolf make sense for the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls can go complete like a player that could end up being one of the best players in this draft and Derek Queen and not even care about the fit there. There's a lot of things up in there. They can even go Colin Murray-Boyles, a player that I'm not high on at all. But defensively, you can't make there's as much as I have concerns about CMB and his offense at the next level, I can't deny defensively, the dude there's no holes in his game at all. He's going to be a defensive nightmare for teams. Thomas Sorber, another guy as well. Right now, and basically up until the Bulls make their draft selection, everything's up in air for the Chicago Bulls. We don't know what this team is going to do. And anybody who tells you that they know exactly what this Bulls team is going to do is lying to you. And I'm not a liar. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So it's just going to be interesting to watch how this all shakes out for the Chicago Bulls because there's a lot of different ways that this can go. And I want to be clear, a lot of ways that it can go that are the right ways for the Chicago Bulls. I hope that they trade back into this draft into the back of the second round. I hope that they do. They got the expiring contracts. They got the assets to do it. We just got to see what they're going to do, how that's going to all shake out for this team, and we shall see. But before we get into the mailbag, we do have another rumored deal that I do want to talk about, and this is one that ESPN pushed forward, in which they talked about the Bulls trading Patrick Williams, Javon Carter, and the 12th overall pick to get RJ Barrett back. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because shut up, right? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because no. Like, I get it that people want to get off, and we have a voicemail, which I'm going to talk a little bit about this too, that people want to get off P. Will's contract, but I'm not willing to give up off an asset in the 12th overall pick. I get it. RJ Barrett is a good player. He's a solid player, but it's not worth getting off Javon or P. Will's contracts right now to get off the 12th overall pick. I'm willing to trade the 12th. I'm willing to trade a first-round pick for a sure star that propels us absolutely into being into playoff contention. RJ Barrett can come in here and be a different version of Zach LaVine. And I don't think that necessarily pushes you all of a sudden into being this surefire playoff team that can win a playoff series. It's not the type of deal that I'd be interested in doing. It's not the type of deal that I think is best for the team either. But, hey, I always like to present these for the conversation part of it because maybe you guys view it differently than me and you see an angle on it that I don't necessarily see. But, no, I don't like that deal. I don't like the Bulls giving up the 12th overall pick at all because I just don't think that is a good deal that brings value for the Chicago Bulls personally. But we shall see. Let me know what you guys think down below. All right, let's get into these voicemails, man. This one's from Vaughn.
What's up, Hayes? This is Vaughn. So I usually don't like bringing trade ideas to your podcast, of course. But I had to bring this one because I just didn't think that I could create a trade where Nikola Vucevic and Patrick Williams or both go to the Golden State Warriors. So, I just wanted to bring it up for your viewers. So my idea that I have is the Bulls would be receiving Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, and Jonathan Kuminga on a sign-in trade. About 3 years, $80 million. That matches the money pretty well. The Warriors, they get Nikola Vucevic, Patrick Williams, Javon Carter, who slides right into their trade exception that they have. We send them the 2026 lottery-protected Portland pick that we own, and we send them our own 2027 first-round pick, but it's top 10 protected. The Lakers would be getting Buddy Hield, Guy Santos, and they would get Kevon Looney on a sign-in trade for about, whatever Kevon Looney is worth nowadays for them. He might slide in as a good backup center for them. So the Lakers upgrade, talent from Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber with Buddy Hield and Kevon Looney without giving up much. And then the Warriors, they get their center that they need that matches their timeline. They get a young forward and Patrick Williams who can shoot, and, is more willing to pass the ball in a system like that. And Javon Carter, who will probably work better as a veteran point guard in their system. We get Jonathan Kuminga, we get Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber, who more so are just contracts that end after 1 year, which matches the timeline of what the Bulls want to have money in 2026 free agency. They might even wait or buy out Max Kleber or Gabe Vincent when they get it. But either way, it matches up with what they want. So let me know what you think about that. If we get Kuminga, I definitely would want to see Patrick Williams out of here more than anybody else. I just don't want both of them on the same team. But let me know what you think about that idea. All right, though. Peace.
All right, so here's the thing. Much like I said in the last rumor deal, I'm not willing to give up assets to move off P. Will's contract at this point in time because P. Will's contract isn't holding the Bulls back yet. I'm willing to move off I'm even willing to move off P. Will's contract and take back a bad salary to get an additional draft pick. I'm not willing to send out an additional asset to get off of P. Will with right now. Cap space is the least of our worries. Even in the Jonathan Kuminga trade, I like if the Bulls do trade for Jonathan Kuminga, I'm all for them bringing him in, not giving up assets, right? Not giving up this future assets, I should say. If this is a sign-in trade, you end up including Vooch in that deal. Maybe even you have to include a Kevin Huerter in that deal. I'm just throwing out names at this point. I'm fine for that because those aren't necessarily big-time future assets for this Bulls team. I'm not here to give up the 2027 pick, no matter what type of protections that you throw on it. I'm not willing to do that yet with the current place that this Bulls team is at. Now, understand, it's not a bad move that you came up with. I do think you thought about all aspects and what all teams could want, and that's a really good part in coming up with these mock trades and being fair. But I don't think, I do think you will have to move off a pick to get rid of P. Will's contract, unless you're taking back a long, bad term salary back from another team. In that case, maybe you get a protected pick or a couple of seconds or something like that. But I'm not at the place where I'm willing to give up future assets for the Bulls quite yet. I'm just not at that place, not to give up on P. Will. Not to get off of P. Will's deal. I get what you're saying. If you bring Kuminga in, you don't want P. Will on this team. P. Will's on the bench. I don't think that matters at this point one way or another, because I think even if you do keep Kuminga on this team and P. Will's still on the bench, even if P. Will's getting minutes, he's backing up either Modest and Kuminga because he can play either position. You're not going to see a lot of both of them on the court together, so I'm not really too worried about that. I'm just at this place where I'm not at the point where I want to give up future assets just to get off P. Will's deal where it's not really hurting anything that we're trying to do yet. Now, if we get to a point where we sign a big contract and we want to have some flexibility, and then it comes time to we feel comfortable in our core that we are a playoff team, and it's like, all right, let's take this pick and take P. Will off our hands, cool. But we have years really before we get to that point. So, again, not to say I'm not all for trading P. Will, but that's not the way that I would want to do it, not quite yet. But solid deal there, Vaughn. All right, let's get into the next one, man. This one's from Vikram.
What's up, Hayes? It's Vikram. Yeah, so I've seen a lot of people talk about, like, the Billy Donovan contract extension, like that report from Mark Stein. I don't know if it's just me, but, like, I feel like Billy Donovan is, like, the coach that we should keep. And the reason I'm saying that is because you talk about it, we all see it. He's a great point guard coach. And who do we have? We have one of the best, like, true point guards in the league in Josh Giddey, right? And we have another guy, Coby White, who's like a combo guard, but can play the point guard pretty well. We have a guy in Lonzo Ball, doesn't play much, but, when he was there, he was like an integral part of our, roster construction. And Billy Donovan really uses these point guards really well, and we saw that once Zach LaVine was gone. He wasn't forced to play anybody. Billy Donovan wasn't forced to play a certain way to accommodate for that, for a guy like Zach LaVine. He used Josh Giddey and Coby White as the engines, and I think that Billy Donovan is a great coach for what we have right now. And AK having that trust in Billy Donovan, I don't know. I feel like that's a better thing than what a lot of people are making it out to be. And a lot with, like, people criticizing AK for not, like, firing Billy Donovan. I think it's better when you keep a coach around longer than making, like, hasty decisions to fire coaches. Because, like, at the end of the day, they're always made out to be the scapegoats. Are they not? Like, that's what I just feel like. They're always made out to be the scapegoats, and you're just going to keep recycling head coaches instead of investing in a pretty good head coach that you have in Billy Donovan. And I don't know. I feel like that's a good decision. Also, with Coby White, I don't think we should trade him, just because of the simple idea that whenever we think we've seen the max of Coby, we always see something better. And this last run is really, that he had, like, the end of the year was really impressive. And I know every time we get excited, there's always some sort of, like, thing that lets us down. But, like, last year where we got excited that he was going to average, like, 23, 24 or something, we got, like, really excited about that. But then he averaged, like, 18. Then he picked it up, which is why, like, he's always, like, going on these, like, hot stretches. And I feel like if we really invest in him, he will show us that he is a real star in this league.
Listen, I want to be clear. I have not said that Billy Donovan is a good point guard coach. I said that his system looks the best when he has a point guard playing at a high level. Now, I'm not going to – I think in the way that you worded it, it's like they're playing at a high level because of Billy. I don't necessarily think that's always been the case. Like when Chris Paul was there, I think that Chris Paul was just still a player that could play really well, and he was able to make the most out of Billy Donovan's system. With Josh Giddey, I don't know if necessarily that Billy Donovan made Josh Giddey better more so than he finally let Josh Giddey play his game, which then, of course, made the system look better, a little bit better, right? So I think there's just a little bit different of a wording, and maybe that's just my OCD getting caught up in the wording there, but I just wanted to make sure I made that correction there. But like I said before, I think that Billy Donovan's going to stay here until the roster gets to a certain point, and then the Bulls realize, all right, Billy's taken as far as we can go. We feel very confident in this roster, but we've been a first-round exit for the last 2 years. Then it's going to be time to move to a different head coach. When you say that continuity, Billy Donovan's been here 6 years. I think that 6 years is enough time to where you kind of get a vibe of a coach. Where I agree with, like, some teams move off coaches too much, where it's like the Suns. They're going into their 5th year now straight with a different head coach, or 4th year, something like that. That's where it gets to a problem, where you only give a coach 2 years and then you're removing them, right? Billy Donovan has had 6 years. That's usually enough time to where you can understand what a coach is, what they bring, and things like that. Now, I do think the Bulls not being happy with the state of their roster plays a part into why Billy Donovan's job has been safe. I do think they appreciate how collaborative and how they share a vision. I think all those things are true, but I don't necessarily think that the Bulls, if they were to move off of Billy Donovan, that you could say, oh, well, we're just willy-nilly moving coaches. I mean, he's had 6 years. And maybe that's just my opinion, but I do understand what's rooted in what you're saying for sure. And I never want to be that team that's changing coaches every 2 or 3 years. Like, I don't want to be that. But I think after 6 years, which, when he's getting his contract extension, if he stays for that whole time, that means we're talking about 9 years of Billy Donovan. I think that that's probably enough time to say that you kind of got a grasp of what he's going to be able to do for you. Just me, though. All right, but as far as Coby, everybody knows how I feel about Coby. Listen, I can understand if the Bulls trade Coby because, like I said, if you do that, then I'm looking at the move that you made. Well, how did the deal that you made? What are we getting back that is making us better than what we are with Coby White? Or what is the better asset that you're getting back with Coby White? Because if you're getting a low round, first round pick in the 20s or something, the chances you pick somebody that's going to be better than Coby at that pick is not great, right? So I've come to the point where I realize that this roster is in such flux that they could move Coby. Now, if they do, then I'm just judging it based off the deal. Personally, I want to see Coby stay. But I do realize that in basketball, like I've said, we talk about them holding on to players so long, we can't just expect them to just move the players we don't like. That may come via moving off of players that we like, but then what value do you get back in moving off those guys? I think that becomes the question then. But all right, let's move into the next one, man. This one's from Javier.
Yo, Ace, it's Javier. Just leaving you a quick message regarding that rumor between the Bulls, the Suns, and the Spurs for that Vooch trade. I don't think a lot of people are thinking about this, and I haven't seen this, being said anywhere else. But we got to consider the fact that one of the Ishbia brothers are purchasing the White Sox, and I'm wondering how much out of all this, is a part of them doing Jerry Reinsdorf a solid, to try to just sweeten the deal between them and, the brothers and the Reinsdorfs, the Ishbia brothers and the Reinsdorfs to, get the White Sox on the sweet deal. So I'm thinking that's pretty much what's bringing all this together is the fact that the Reinsdorfs now have that connection with the Ishbias, and they're trying to get all this worked out. The Bulls have worked with the Spurs before, so, I'm thinking, they're pretty intertwined, and I feel like, if that's the case, this deal is likely to happen. I don't know how. I'm sure they're going to try to get creative to make it all work, but, I can only see, this as the Ishbia brothers trying to do Jerry a solid to get the White Sox and all that. So yeah, thank you.
I do think relationships between GMs, between owners, between franchises play a large role into sometimes deals going. That's why when you see like the Bulls have made several moves with the Spurs over the last few years. I think we've made a couple of moves with the Kings over the last few years as well. Like we just made 2 of them last year. The DeMar DeRozan signing trade and then the Zach LaVine trade, right? We made the move with the Spurs with DeMar DeRozan and then, again with the Zach LaVine trade as well, of being the third team. I think relationships play a huge role into that. Now, I do think it gets a little tinfoil hat when you start talking about, oh, well, they're going to make this move because of the sale of the White Sox. I don't necessarily think that's true. Keep in mind, Matt Ishbia is the one that bought the White Sox. Jeff Ishbia, I think his name, is the one that owns the Suns. But I think that, he's still on the ownership group as well. And maybe it is something to push something through. But I don't think that we've even heard that it's like something imminent. I think it is just a rumor. But we shall see what happens. If the Bulls can get in on a KD trade and whatever happens there, so be it. So be it. I'm not mad at it if that's the case, right? And if you're leveraging any relationship that you have to get that done, that's just smart business at that point. So we shall see what happens there, though, my brother. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Corn.
What's the good word, King Drip? It's your brother Corn, man. Let's get right into it, man. I'm on time. I'm on time today, right? All right, now let's get into it. Coby, I.O. Come front and center, man. Come front and center, y'all, too. We gotta have a tough conversation. This conversation is, like I said, one that we're gonna have, one that we have to have, and one that's gonna come. We're going to cross this bridge. So, this is what I would do when this bridge is crossed. Who will I trade out of Io, Dosunmu, or Coby White? I think it's no surprise who I was going to pick because I'm kind of always been on this train. Me and my brother Drip, we disagree on this, and that's okay. Still love my big dog, still love him. But at the end of the day, I would trade Coby White. Simple. The value I believe I will get with Coby White. I don't believe I will get that value out of Io Dosunmu, especially the year that he had last year. This is business at the end of the day, y'all. This is a very tough decision. Would I love to keep them both? Yes. You know, I'm not a Coby hater. You know, I'm more of a wait and see. You know, I've been riding with Coby ever since we drafted out of North Carolina, number 7. I've been riding with him. So the inconsistencies, even though he had a better consistent year, I'm still on, you got to prove a little bit more to me, Coby, but right now you worth more. So I am sorry. That's who I have to trade just because of the value. All right, Drip. You already know, King. Appreciate you. Love you. All right, C-Red. Already know how we feel about this, but hey, this time will come. Blessings.
I don't think we really disagree on this. I believe that I've said before, like, if you had to choose between Coby and Io, all things even, I can understand people. I would probably choose Io too, because I think the two-way ability of Io is something that fits in with more teams, right? I think Coby is really, really good, and I think he has a chance to take his game to another step up if his role doesn't change yet again. But I think Io has the game that you can more so look at and say he can fit on any team in just about any style. And he, like I said before, Io is the type of player that people think are expendable. Then the moment that you get close to becoming a championship caliber team, you need to have a player like Io on it, right? So I definitely think that. I think Io is going to be ready and willing and to come into his role next season and play a huge role. But I just don't want to see the Bulls trade either of them. I think we've drafted both those guys. I would love to see them be able to stay here and really continue to grow and develop. But I do realize that there could be a chance, right? You can make an argument for either one. And I think you can make a valid argument for why you would keep one or the other. But we'll just see what happens there. We'll see what happens. All right, let's get into this last one, man. This one's from DK2K Nitro, which is a first-time caller.
Hey, it's your boy DJ 2K Nitro. I just wanted to call into the show. Long time, follow the page. Keep doing what you're doing. Really enjoy the content. Just want to speak about AK Eversley. I just feel like they have to do, better. But in the same token, how can they really do much better with the reputation that they have around the NBA? From what reports were saying, they back out of deals a lot, they ask for too much, this and that. So I don't know how their reputation is around the league to, allow them to even make certain moves or certain deals anymore. So with that being said, in this off season, we're trying to retool or restructure the roster and make deals. I wonder if we'll even be able to make any deals given the reputation that, AK has around the NBA. So I don't know. I think we just have to just really focus in on the draft only and keep things in-house. But on the same token, that's the iffy thing because we fired Peter Patton. So I don't know what to say. Hopefully this is a good, call, and maybe you can do something with it and go Bulls. See you later. Bye.
Here's the thing. When people... I get what you're getting at, right? And I want to be clear there that I definitely understand what you're saying with this, right? But I think ultimately it just comes down to, you're right that the Bulls have to focus on getting this draft right. The Bulls have to focus on getting their reputation, I'm not really too much worried about their reputation around the league. I think that you have to be aggressive in your moves. Like even us hearing about the Coby White trade, right? In the deal that they passed up on Coby White reportedly that would have netted them 2 first-round picks. Like, all right, cool. You didn't do that. But now does that mean you're committed to Coby? Because if you turn around and move Coby, because in a worse deal, then what are you doing? Like, I think so much that we heard the deals were on the table by the Bulls, and they didn't take those deals. So teams are still willing to deal with the Bulls. The Bulls just they have not taken advantage of the deals that have been offered to them, and thus they've been left by the wayside. I think that's something that's been very evident with them. So they got to be better in that case, and hopefully they will be going forward, and they can just make better trade decisions. But I think you just got to be an aggressive front office. You got to be a smart front office, and I think as long as you're doing that and keep your head on the swivel when it comes to that, you'll be in a good spot. So we'll see what happens with the Bulls there. But that's my time for today, guys. By the way, tomorrow's going to be a lot of first-time voicemail callers on that. We're going to prioritize first-time callers on tomorrow's mailbag. I already think I see 4 first-time callers in there. We're going to get those out first. Then we're going to go to the old faithful. So make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.